67. Wei Qing and Huo Qubing, the heroes of the Han-Xiongnu Wars. Wei Qing came from a humble background. His father was a servant in the household of Marquis Pingyang, Cao Shou. As he grew up, Wei Qing worked as a stable hand and horseman in the same household. His life changed dramatically when his sister, Wei Zifu, entered the palace and became Emperor Wu's favored consort. This connection elevated Wei Qing's status, leading to his rise in the military. Wei Qing's first major victory. The same year that Li Guang was captured and escaped from the Xiongnu, the four Han armies suffered defeats, except for Wei Qing's forces, which won a significant battle. In recognition of his success, Emperor Wu granted him the title of Marquis of Guanay. Over the following years, Wei Qing led multiple successful campaigns against the Xiongnu, earning a reputation as one of Han's finest generals. The surprise attack on the Right Wise King, 124 BCE. In 124 BCE, Wei Qing led 30,000 cavalry deep into Xiongnu territory. The Right Wise King of the Xiongnu, thinking the Han forces were far away, was caught completely off guard. He and his men were drinking and feasting in their encampment. Wei Qing marched under the cover of darkness, moving over 700 miles undetected. Surrounding the Xiongnu camp, he launched a devastating surprise attack. The Xiongnu forces panicked and scattered. The Right Wise King, still drunk, had no time to organize resistance and barely managed to escape with a few hundred followers. The Han army captured over 15,000 prisoners, including more than 10 minor Xiongnu kings. This defeat was a massive blow to the Xiongnu. The Right Wise King's army was destroyed, shaking the confidence of the Xiongnu Chanyu. Upon receiving the victory report, Emperor Wu immediately promoted Wei Qing to Grand General and even granted noble titles to his 3 young sons. However, Wei Qing humbly refused, saying, "My victories are due to the efforts of my officers and soldiers. My children are too young to have contributed anything. If they are rewarded unfairly, how can we encourage true military merit?" Emperor Wu, recognizing his wisdom, instead granted Marquis titles to 7 of Wei Qing's officers. The rise of Huo Qubing. In the following year, 123 BCE, the Xiongnu launched another attack. Emperor Wu sent Wei Qing with 6 generals to counter them. One of those accompanying Wei Qing was his 18-year-old nephew, Huo Qubing. Though young, Huo Qubing was fearless, highly skilled in archery and horseback combat. Huo Qubing led 800 elite warriors northward in search of the Xiongnu. After riding several hundred miles, they finally spotted the Xiongnu encampment. Instead of attacking directly, he circled around and targeted the largest tent, storming inside. With a swift strike, Huo Qubing personally killed a high-ranking Xiongnu noble. His men captured another and scattered the remaining forces. With their leaders dead or captured, the Xiongnu camp collapsed in chaos. Huo Qubing and his 800 men chased down and killed over 2,000 Xiongnu warriors before returning to base. Among the prisoners were 2 high-ranking Xiongnu officials. One was the Chanyu's uncle, the other was his prime minister. Huo Qubing had also personally slain a Xiongnu noble of the Chanyu's grandfather's generation. For this remarkable victory, the 18-year-old Huo Qubing was granted the title Marquis of Champion Marquis. The legendary Western Expedition, 121 BCE. By 121 BCE, Emperor Wu appointed Huo Qubing as cavalry general, commanding 10,000 elite cavalry in an offensive campaign against the Xiongnu in the west. For 6 consecutive days, Huo Qubing fought non-stop battles against the Xiongnu, pushing them back. His forces advanced over 1,000 miles, beyond Yanji Mountain, modern Gansu. Along the way, they conquered several Xiongnu vassal states, including the kingdoms of Hengxi and Shotu. His men even captured the sacred Golden Man idol from the Shotu King's temple, a highly symbolic victory. Upon returning to Chang'an, Emperor Wu rewarded Huo Qubing with an estate. However, the young general declined, saying, "The Xiongnu are not yet defeated. How could I settle down and build a home?" He famously declared, "While the Xiongnu still exist, how can I think of home?" The greatest Han-Xiongnu campaign, 119 BCE. By 119 BCE, Emperor Wu had prepared for a decisive war against the Xiongnu. Wei Qing and Huo Qubing were each given 50,000 elite cavalry, leading a massive 2-pronged attack. Wei Qing's victory. Wei Qing marched north through the Gobi Desert, advancing over 1,000 miles. The Xiongnu Chanyu, Yizhixi, personally led his forces to oppose him. A massive battle ensued in the middle of a desert sandstorm. Wei Qing deployed his troops in a pincer attack, forcing the Xiongnu Chanyu to flee north with only a few hundred horsemen. Wei Qing pursued him all the way to Mount Xian, modern Mongolia, capturing an important Xiongnu city. After resting his troops and burning the enemy's food stores, he returned to Chang'an victorious. Huo Qubing's triumph. Huo Qubing's forces traveled over 2,000 miles deep into Xiongnu territory, reaching Wolf-Jushu Mountain, modern Inner Mongolia. He defeated the Xiongnu left Wei Qing, capturing tens of thousands. To commemorate his victory, he carved a stone monument on Wolf-Jushu Mountain. This was the most ambitious and far-reaching Han military campaign ever. After this, the Xiongnu retreated deep into the northern steppes. No Xiongnu settlements remained south of the Gobi Desert. Legacy. After their campaigns, the Han dynasty had effectively neutralized the Xiongnu threat. Wei Qing, once a humble stable boy, had become one of Han's greatest military leaders. Huo Qubing, who had never lost a battle, was the greatest cavalry commander of his time. However, Huo Qubing tragically died at 24, possibly from illness or poisoning, leaving behind an unparalleled legacy. Thanks to their efforts, Han China secured its northern borders and ushered in an era of dominance over the steppe. 68. Zhang Qian's journey to the western regions. During the early reign of Emperor Wu of Han, a Xiongnu defector surrendered to the Han dynasty. From his accounts, the emperor learned about the western regions, Xiyu, a vast area covering modern Xinjiang and lands beyond. This defector mentioned the Yuezhi kingdom, which had once been powerful but was defeated by the Xiongnu. The Yuezhi had fled westward and settled in a new land. Although they hated the Xiongnu and wished for revenge, they lacked allies to help them fight back. Emperor Wu saw an opportunity. The Yuezhi are to the west of the Xiongnu. If we form an alliance with them, we can cut off the Xiongnu's western connections, weakening them like severing an arm. Determined to establish contact with the Yuezhi, he issued an imperial edict seeking volunteers. At the time, no one knew exactly where the Yuezhi were, or how far away they had fled. Taking on this mission required tremendous courage. Zhang Qian sets out. A young court officer named Zhang Qian stepped forward, saying, "This is a mission of great importance. I am willing to go." His bravery inspired others, and soon, 100 warriors volunteered to accompany him. A Xiongnu-born man living in Chang'an, named Tang Yifu, also joined as a guide and translator. In 138 BCE, Zhang Qian and his team departed from Chang'an. Captured by the Xiongnu. To reach the Yuezhi, they had to pass through Xiongnu-controlled territory. Despite moving cautiously, the Xiongnu detected them after a few days. The entire group was surrounded and captured. Instead of executing them, the Xiongnu separated and detained them. Only Tang Yifu and Zhang Qian remained together, for over 10 years. Over time, the Xiongnu guards became less vigilant. One day, Zhang Qian and Tang Yifu seized an opportunity, mounted fast horses, and escaped westward. Arrival in Dawan and the journey to Yuezhi. After enduring weeks of hardship, they crossed Xiongnu territory but failed to locate the Yuezhi. Instead, they arrived in the kingdom of Dawan, Fergana, in modern Central Asia. The people of Dawan spoke the Xiongnu language, which allowed Zhang Qian to communicate easily. When King Dawan learned that Zhang Qian was an envoy from the powerful Han dynasty, he warmly welcomed him. The king even provided an escort to take him through Kangju, modern Kazakhstan, and finally to the Yuezhi. By then, the Yuezhi had settled near Darsha, Bactria, modern northern Afghanistan. When Zhang Qian met the Yuezhi king, he explained Han's proposal to form a military alliance against the Xiongnu. However, the Yuezhi had already adapted to their new homeland and no longer sought revenge. ***, the Xiongnu wronged us, but we have found a new home. We have no reason to wage war against them now. ***. Although Zhang Qian failed to form an alliance, he carefully observed Darsha's trade networks. One thing surprised him: he found bamboo canes and silk cloth from Sichuan, Shu, in the Darsha markets. If traders in Darsha can buy Chinese goods, Then China must not be too far from India. After staying in the region for over a year, Zhang Qian and his men began their journey home. Second capture and escape. Unfortunately, upon returning through Xiongnu territory, Zhang Qian was captured again. This time, he was held for a few more years. Eventually, a civil conflict erupted among the Xiongnu, allowing Zhang Qian to escape once more. After 13 years of hardship, he finally returned to Chang'an. Emperor Wu, recognizing his extraordinary perseverance, appointed him Palace Grandee, Taizhong Dafu. Zhang Qian then gave the emperor a detailed report on the western regions, providing invaluable information about their geography, trade, and cultures. A failed attempt to reach India. Zhang Qian reported, "In Daxia, I saw bamboo canes from Qiong, Sichuan, and silk from Shu, Chengdu. These items came from India, Chenzhou, brought by traders. If Chinese goods reached India, then there must be a direct route southward." Excited by the prospect of establishing relations with India, Emperor Wu sent Zhang Qian on another mission, this time to find a trade route to India via Sichuan. Zhang Qian split his expedition into 4 groups, each traveling 2,000 miles in different directions. However, none of them reached India. Some were blocked by tribal forces. One group reached Kunming but was turned back. Another reached Jian Kingdom, modern Yunnan. Although they failed to reach India, Zhang Qian successfully established contact with Jian, an isolated state descended from the Chu people. Emperor Wu still considered this mission a success, as it helped expand China's diplomatic reach. The second mission to the western regions, 119 BCE. After Wei Qing and Huo Qubing's victories against the Xiongnu lost control of the western regions. Sensing an opportunity, Emperor Wu sent Zhang Qian on a second mission in 119 BCE. This time, he led 300 elite envoys, each with 2 horses, carrying gold, silk, and livestock as gifts. Upon reaching Wuzhen, modern Xinjiang Kazakhstan border, the Wuzhen king welcomed him. Zhang Qian proposed a Han-Wuzhen alliance against the Xiongnu, but the Wuzhen court hesitated, fearing Xiongnu retaliation. To maximize Han's influence, Zhang Qian sent his envoys to multiple states, including Diwan, Fergana, Daxia, Bactria, Yuezhi, Yuqian, Khotan, in modern Xinjiang. To assist, the Wuzhen king even provided translators. Since Zhang Qian's envoys had not yet returned, the Wuzhen king sent him back to Chang'an first, but also sent diplomatic representatives to visit Han. As a sign of goodwill, Wuzhen even gifted Emperor Wu dozens of their finest horses. Emperor Wu was thrilled, especially when he saw the tall, strong Wuzhen war horses. The Silk Road begins. A year later, Zhang Qian fell ill and passed away. However, the envoys he had sent returned, bringing reports from 36 different states. From then on, Emperor Wu regularly sent envoys to the western regions, forging strong trade and diplomatic ties. Likewise, envoys and merchants from the western regions began traveling to China. Over time, Chinese silk and goods flowed westward through the region, reaching as far as Persia and Europe. This trade route later became known as the Silk Road. Legacy. Though he never saw its full impact, Zhang Qian's efforts opened China to the world. His courage and persistence led to the first direct contact between Han China and Central Asia, the founding of the Silk Road, a new era of diplomacy and trade. His journey shaped the course of history, forever linking China to the Western world. 69. Su Wu herding sheep, a symbol of loyalty. After their defeats at the hands of Wei Qing and Huo Qubing, the Xiongnu refrained from waging war for several years. However, despite their outward claims of peace, they continued to secretly prepare for invasions of Han territory. Meanwhile, the Han and Xiongnu had been detaining each other's envoys, escalating tensions. By 100 BCE, Emperor Wu was considering launching another campaign against the Xiongnu. Unexpectedly, the Xiongnu proposed peace and even released the detained Han envoys. To reciprocate their goodwill, Emperor Wu sent Su Wu, a respected court official, as an envoy to the Xiongnu. He was given the imperial staff, Jingjie, a symbol of his authority. Accompanying him were his deputy Zhong Xing and another official, Chang Hui. A failed plot and betrayal. Upon arriving at the Xiongnu court, Su Wu returned the released Han envoys and presented gifts to the Qianyu. However, just as he was preparing to return to Han, a crisis erupted. Before Su Wu's arrival, a Han envoy named Wei Lu had defected to the Xiongnu. The Qianyu trusted him greatly and even made him a Xiongnu noble. One of Wei Lu's subordinates, Yu Chang, was deeply resentful of him. Yu Chang secretly conspired with Zhang Qian to assassinate Wei Lu and kidnap the Qianyu's mother, planning to escape back to Han. However, their plot failed, and Yu Chang was captured. When tortured, he only admitted to knowing Zhang Qian but refused to implicate Su Wu. The Qianyu was furious and ordered an investigation into all the Han envoys. Zhang Qian, fearing for his life, confessed to Su Wu and begged for advice. Su Wu realized he would inevitably be implicated. Rather than being captured and disgracing the Han dynasty, he attempted suicide by slitting his own throat. "I am a Han envoy. If I betray my duty and honor, how can I face my emperor?" Zhang Qian and Chang Hui quickly restrained him, preventing his death. Defiance in the face of death. Despite enduring brutal torture, Yu Chang refused to implicate Su Wu, only admitting to speaking with Zhang Qian. The Qianyu wanted to execute Su Wu, but his ministers persuaded him against it. Instead, he ordered Wei Lu to persuade Su Wu to surrender. When Wei Lu arrived, Su Wu immediately rejected the idea. "I am a Han envoy. If I betray my mission and lose my honor, how can I face my emperor and countrymen?" Seeing Su Wu's unyielding spirit, Wei Lu attempted to deceive him. "The Qianyu treats me well. He made me a king and granted me vast lands. If you surrender, you will enjoy the same wealth and power. Why suffer needlessly?" Enraged, Su Wu stood up and rebuked him. "Wei Lu, you were born a Han citizen and served as a Han official. Now you have betrayed your emperor, your people, and even your own parents. How dare you speak to me? I will never surrender." Seeing Su Wu's unwavering determination, Wei Lu had no choice but to report back to the Qianyu. A life of hardship in captivity. Frustrated by his failed attempts to break Su Wu, the Qianyu decided to torture him instead. Su Wu was thrown into a dungeon with no food or water. The ground was frozen, and snow piled up outside. He survived by eating leather straps and drinking melted snow. After several days, he still refused to surrender. Seeing that even starvation could not break him, the Qianyu devised a crueler punishment. He sent Su Wu to herd sheep on the desolate shores of the North Sea, modern Lake Baikal. He mockingly told Su Wu, "You will be released once the male sheep give birth." Since rams do not give birth, this meant permanent exile. 19 years of isolation. For 19 years, Su Wu lived in exile, cut off from the world. The only thing he had left from Han was his imperial staff, Jingjie. As time passed, the silk tassels on the staff fell off, leaving behind only a bare rod. With no food, he dug through mouse burrows for wild roots and grass seeds. Meanwhile, his companions, including Chang Hui, were imprisoned elsewhere. They were not allowed to communicate. A chance for freedom. In 85 BCE, the Xiongnu Qianyu died, and internal strife broke out. The new Qianyu, weaker than his predecessor, sought peace with Han. By then, Emperor Wu had passed away, and his son, Emperor Zhao, ruled the Han dynasty. Han envoys traveled to the Xiongnu court, demanding the return of Su Wu. At first, the Xiongnu lied, claiming Su Wu was dead. The Han envoy believed them and did not press the issue further. On the second diplomatic visit, Chang Hui, still imprisoned, managed to bribe a Xiongnu official. Through this secret channel, he informed the Han envoys that Su Wu was still alive, herding sheep at the North Sea. When the Han envoy met the Qianyu, he publicly accused him. "If you truly wish for peace, why do you deceive us? Our emperor recently shot a wild goose in his garden. Tied to its leg was a silk ribbon, which read, 'Su Wu is still alive, herding sheep at the North Sea.' If even the birds carry Su Wu's message, how can you continue to lie?" Upon hearing this, the Qianyu was horrified. Believing Su Wu's loyalty had even moved the birds, he quickly apologized and agreed to release him. The return of Su Wu. When Su Wu left for his mission, He was a strong, black-haired man in his 40s. When he returned, his hair and beard had turned completely white. On the day of his arrival in Chang'an, thousands of people gathered to welcome him. As they saw him holding the same imperial staff he had carried for 19 years, they were deeply moved. This man has endured hardship and exile, yet never wavered. He is truly a man of honor and unbreakable integrity. His story became one of the greatest symbols of loyalty in Chinese history.